Hi everyone, greetings, and I hope everyone had a beautiful holiday. Today is December the 26th, 2021, and today's the first day of Kwanzaa. And the theme for today is Umoja, or unity, and the color for the first day of Kwanzaa is black. Now, I thought I had a black candle and was ready to go with my black and red candles, only to find this morning that I cannot locate my black candle. So I have no idea what happened to it, but it's nowhere to be found, and that's okay. I can still get one today, before the end of the day, so that when I really spend the time this evening just kind of lighting that candle and reflecting, I'll have it for then. But it's unfortunate because I don't have it this morning for my tarot spread. But what I did instead was to get one of my best, most favorite tea light style candles that I use as butter offerings on my altar in place of butter lamps, and offer this one instead. So I went ahead, as you might be able to see, I went ahead and anointed it as I would any other candle that's special or that holds significance. And I'm going to go ahead and light it. Ta-da! So it'll be slightly off camera, but it's here. It's here holding space and bringing sacred energy to the space. Because this is it's a sacred ritual. For me, it's sacred. It's really, over the last few years, this is the third year in a row that I've participated. Oh boy, these they tend to do this when you first light them, and you have to go back and relight them a second time. There we go. I always forget, and then I'm like, oh no, my candle went out, and it comes right back, and it burns all the way down. It's the third year in a row that I participated in this particular tarot community initiative or opportunity. So I wish to first of all acknowledge and thank Veronica Rose and Queen Auset for starting it in the first place. And I'm honored that it's possible, and I'm always grateful that there's an opportunity for this. I mean, it has really made a huge impact on the last few years in terms of what I do at the end of the year, and how I reflect on my practice, on how I reflect on all of the various concepts contained within Kwanzaa and each day of Kwanzaa. And then it also offers an opportunity to pause and reflect on my own work, to really acknowledge and understand better and learn more about the experience of the Black community in the United States, as well as worldwide. So something that I've found to be a really big shift over the last year has been learning about African history. Not African American history, African history, which in the United States is generally really not taught. A lot of it is very whitewashed in the sense that, we tend to teach a lot of we teach a lot of stuff about history about North Africa, where it may relate to cultures that the West is interested in. So, for example, we teach a lot about Egyptian history, or Carthaginian history, and so forth. But we'll leave out anything, say, about we leave out multiple empires, let's put it that way, the Malian Empire being one that pops to mind. And we also tend to negate, the importance of those, even just the Egyptian or the Carthaginian cultures, for example, and the fact that they probably were not white. They were not white, or specifically just North African, and maybe Arabic, but were significantly more diverse. So that's been a big, I mean, not just that, the entirety of learning about African history, you know, bit by bit here and there, through various channels I've subscribed to and blogs I've been reading and so forth over the last year. It's like discovering an entire wonderland of things to nerd out on and be excited about, that I never even knew really anything about. I mean, I had no concept of just how rich and beautiful African history really is and how much there is to know. So I feel like I've really only dipped my toes in, but it has been an eye-opening experience. Yeah, and it's been a very rich experience, frankly, a very rich experience. So for day one of Umoja, which is about unity, and this is something I care very deeply about, you know, this idea of unity. Boy, I wish we could have more possibilities or openness, right, to the experience of unity as a community and as a, certainly as a country in the United States, but that's... I'm sorry to say, I don't mean to be a pessimist. I just don't see that happening very well in anytime soon. But it's something I want to be realistic and also do my part to make things, to make it possible for things to shift. So that is where my intent comes from. Certainly, I feel unity as much as it's possible to. Within, you know, with the African, those of African descent, you know, and Afro-Caribbean descent that live in the United States, certainly, and around the world. And today's a day to start reflecting on how I can improve that. You know, what can I do to make the world a better place for those I value and love deeply, who are members of that community. Yeah, out of appreciation and gratitude and respect and love. So there we go. So the first, it's a 7 card prompt, as you can see. So this is from my first year. The first card is describing our overall my overall attitudes to unity, and then looks at how I can improve them in 6 different areas, starting with family and loved ones, my social network, professional life, community, nation, and race. Okay, so some big stuff, definitely some big stuff. So I pre-shuffled my deck. I'm using the Dust to Onyx deck, which feels like the only appropriate one to use for day one. It's one of my favorite decks. I love it so much. Yeah. So I'll take a deep breath. So the first question being, describe my overall beliefs and attitudes to unity, please. Ooh, I almost had it cut in a couple of places there. Okay. But I'm going to just take one. I'll be disciplined about it. Wow. So we've got Lil Staff as our first one. And because I'm not good at reading for myself where depth and reflection is concerned, I will be directly reading from the book. I also feel that Courtney Alexander is a brilliant author. So I love her writing about this as much as I love her visual artwork. So let's see. What do we have to say about Lil Staff? So Lil Staff's awakened qualities, liberation, vigor, innovative, pure potential, passion, and arousal. Interesting. So the dormant qualities are rash, egotistical, procrastination, lethargic, and restrictions. That's I definitely feel that as truth. Yeah, I can see how I have both. I hold both of those. So the eyes of this particular card, which as I pull up close, you can see that those are taken from a real photograph, right? So all of the cards in her deck are like that. They're from Usain Bolt. So she writes here, or the quote that's used here is, when I was younger, this is from Usain Bolt. When I was younger, I always wanted to impress, to be good for my country, to make them feel good, and sometimes that meant I didn't focus on myself enough. I learned I had to put myself first, and it's fine because I want for me the same thing they want for me, which is to win. Wow. I could say, when I was younger, I was definitely like that. I'm not so much now. Let's see. Yeah, just as a phoenix rises from the ashes, Little Staff understands that flying high requires a fearless knowing and acceptance of their whole being. They seek transformation and purification of the soul, releasing all fear of uncertainty and ephemerality, leaving behind old habits, and healing the old wounds that create restriction and limitation. They courageously shine light on even the darkest parts of themselves and face them head on. Wow. Little Staff is intensely passionate, independent, authentic, determined, and strong, all the markings of a great leader. There is a contagious energy and enthusiasm to live life to the fullest. They may be headstrong, but they're loyal and protective of those they consider worth their care. When this wild energy is ill-defined, Little Staff can spontaneously combust. That's very true. They become self-absorbed, self-unaware, impulsive, undependable, and insatiable in terms of self-gratification. Very true. Patience goes out the window, and there's nothing that can quell their anger or passion. At worst, they can be quite cruel and domineering. At best, this great fire can be invoked to bring great change, break through any obstacle, and clear the way for a mighty spirit to emerge. Wow. We can look to Little Staff as a representation of the liberation we experience when we move beyond external limitations and choose to live our best, most authentic life. It's time to take the emotional baggage to the incinerator and let it burn, purifying our spirit. New, stimulating opportunities are on the way, which can lead to much growth and change. This is a wonderfully optimistic time, great for taking on a new course of learning. You or someone you know may also be feeling increasingly sensual and ready for more stimulating sexual experiences. Take care not to let this energy to cause tempers to flare or make commitments that, to make commitments that cannot be fulfilled, or to allow egos to grow into domineering and oppressive behavior. Know thyself, be a free spirit, and experience life fully. Beautiful. Wow. So I definitely feel a lot of truth in this one with regards to my attitudes towards unity. And it is like that. It's either burning bright or, the fire is out and I can just resort to being awfully self-absorbed. That's absolutely true. I don't always feel like I know what to do, or what to say, or as though I have anything to offer. And usually, there you go. Yeah. It's not taking care. It's instead of taking care of myself, and keeping my cup full so that I don't, so that those answers are clear. I get bogged down by other stuff, and instead of doing my practices and taking care of myself, I think that I'll get further by doing other stuff, by being more of a grown-up, I guess, in a very Western sense. But actually, it's the taking care of the spiritual that makes the rest so possible. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's really very true. When I'm practiced, I don't worry about it. It just, I know what to do instantly. And I can do it with fire and vigor and passion and so forth. Wow. This deck never lies. It will come out with the most straightforward readings you can imagine. Okay, so how can I improve unity in my family and with loved ones? Wow, little blade. This is fascinating. Wow, the pages, the messengers are really, they've got a lot to say to me this morning. Oh my gosh, okay. So, yeah, little blade is the first one. So the qualities here, the awakened qualities are pragmatic, ingenious, objective, keen, diplomatic. The dormant qualities, austere, dogmatic, intrusive, cynical, and conniving. Yeah, I mean, those are qualities that I would want to work on with regards to the way I interact with my family and loved ones. That's very, wow, that's succinct. There's no question about that. And these eyes in this one are Frederick Douglass. I love that so much. God, that's amazing. All right, so, oh, wow. So the quote by Frederick Douglass that's included here says, quote, "To make a contented slave, it is necessary to make a thoughtless one. It is necessary to darken the moral and mental vision and, as far as possible, to annihilate the power of reason." So, yeah, I mean, I think he's spot on there. You know, that's absolutely the case. I'm just thinking like how much depth there is here. That is the problem that we have today right now. So much of the problem we have. There's a lot of thoughtlessness. There's so much thoughtlessness. But when you really do engage in thought and thinking and reason and detach a little bit from being so taken up with your own emotional ideas, emotionally based or emotionally rooted ideas about who said what, when, where, and how, and just let go of that and cut straight through to what's the information. Think about what's the information. Sometimes letting go of difficult emotions and difficult feelings about things is very straightforward. It just is, you can get some, it means getting some distance from it. Not divorcing the heart, but getting some space and distance from the reactivity, to be rational. Yeah, she writes here, the little blade must learn to be aware of their own emotional nature. Some decisions require us to follow our heart more than our rationale. Yeah. But when the winds blow too intensely, they can kick up debris like a dust storm, creating a mental cloud that grows bigger as it travels into other areas. This reduces the ability to communicate productively, in addition to preventing the evolution of thought necessary for new perspectives to come forth. Yeah, and she writes a lot in here about the difference between when little blade is aspected as being kind of cold and distanced from things versus like using emotional intelligence to guide rational decisions and decision making. I love that. So yeah, I think, you know, getting a little bit of distance from situations that I have with family and loved ones in order to be rational is where I'm going to take the direction of this one for sure. Of course, like that's what I do in the evening is sit down and process, you know, light a candle again and process. But, you know, this is the first look. The second one, second prompt or third prompt is social network. So how can I improve unity in my social network? All right. Ooh, the Six of Blades. Wow, okay. Huh. Well, let's look that one up. I feel like that's about getting distance from the social network from time to time. Yeah. So what do we have? Let's see. Courtney writes, let's see, the awakened, it's transition, perspective, travel, clarity, and release. The dormant qualities, entrapped, stuck, postponement, confusion, and fleeing. Yeah. Yeah, she writes, it's a great time to reflect so you can ensure a brighter future for yourself and your loved ones moving forward. You know, let's see what else. She writes, when I think of healing and reconciliation, I often think of the metaphor picking up the broken pieces. But some pieces are unsalvageable and better left where they are. Here we can see what carrying those sharp broken pieces can really do to us. With all the sharp chunks of blades we choose to carry, we simply end up hurting ourselves. Wow. We bleed out and wonder why we no longer have the wherewithal to keep going. The two swords that remain whole are more than enough to remind us where we've come from and to protect us on the way to where we are going. The Six of Blades reminds us that the silver lining is near. Release those broken pieces, lift up your head, and see things from a different perspective. You will find much more peace and clarity in your situation. It may even be a literal sign of travel. This is the time to face your reality. If you've been in a constant state of struggle, stop fighting and do what you can to lighten your mental load. My God, that is so accurate. And I love too that she deviates from a traditional Six of Swords, right? So that we get a lot more depth here, and possibility. I mean, that's very true. I have a lot of my own personal broken pieces that I know get in the way of my social network and people, you know, in my life. And if I were to just let go of those and quit hanging on, I would be in a much better place. So that's got to be part of the new year coming through, is just letting go of it. Just drop it. Put it down. Put it down. Oh, so much. I mean, I love the perspective. All right. And then for professional life. Okay. So professional life. Improving unity in my professional life. Kind of have lost track of what that even is at the moment because I feel like I'm doing a lot of different jobs. Yeah, Five of Blades. Wow. Yep. Oh my gosh. I've never drawn the Five of Blades in this deck. Mm-hmm. I now realize I don't think I've ever drawn that one. It's not going to be pretty. Let's see. Five of Blades. Courtney writes, the awakened qualities of the Five of Blades. So vindication, cunning, dispute, exoneration, dormant, negativity, treachery, failure, ridicule, dishonesty. This is deep. There's a lot there. I mean, anybody who watched any of the videos I did on the self-compassion practices earlier in the year, it's been a really bad year. Like it's been tough on every level. I mean, last year was too, but I don't know. This one was a lot less. There were some kind moments last year that just weren't quite there in the same way this year. Yeah. I mean, professionally, what's in my background, I have a lot of professional negativity, treachery, failure, ridicule, and dishonesty. Not my own, but like those are things that have taken place that have led me to where I am right now, which is where, I do feel a certain, I'm just kind of in a place where it feels like there's conflict about what to do moving forward. And so that makes it hard for there to be much unity in any direction, but that's what I'm hoping to see if there's a possibility to find here. So Courtney also writes, most of us have heard the old Bible quote from Matthew 16:26 from the King James Version. For what shall it profit a man if he shall gain the whole world and lose his own soul? Yeah. We can be so intent on winning that we lose sight of the impact of our actions the impact our actions have on ourselves and others. This is especially true in a Western society where winners are worthy of respect and admiration even, and losers deserve their lot in life no matter how the wins were gained. Wow, so true. Thank you. On the other hand, many of us surrender for the sake of our own peace, only to be filled with regret and shame. Ouch, yeah. There's a time to surrender and a time to go down fighting. An encounter with the Five of Blades brings us face to face with defeat in the many different forms it can take. A common theme in mythology is the fall of man, and the Five of Blades reminds us of the inevitable way that we may not always be on the winning side. She begins to write then about the Kuba Kingdom of the Democratic Republic of Congo and the royal masks that tell the story of creation, which is where the card is based, or where this is what she based the card upon. Let's see. The Five of Blades most often comes as a warning that we are heading towards defeat or limitations. There may be a current dispute, reasons to mistrust someone, or gossip being spread to slander your name. It's possible that you are the person responsible for the strife and need to lay down your pride and take responsibility for your own mistakes. This conflict and negativity can lead to victimization, humiliation, and ultimately a hit to your own self-esteem. This can also be a good sign that despite what has happened, your name is set to be cleared and the truth can come forward. Those who have worked in the dark will come to light. Wow. I really don't know what to make of that one. Man, that one hits so many different levels of past and present. I'm not less the present. I feel more past. I wonder if I'm being told that I'm going to have to lay down a lot of stuff and just come out and say difficult things. I mean, I've often lost jobs that way. I have often lost jobs that way. Not necessarily being fired, although that did happen once, but, mostly because I say what has to be said, and then I end up in a situation where I'm being ostracized to the point it's just like, I just should go, I think I should just go. Wow. But so it looks like it's also possible to look, I need to look at where I could take responsibility or take greater personal responsibility moving forward professionally. This speaks to me about humility, about being willing to accept my own flaws and faults, needing to look more closely at where I've contributed things that have just been disastrous for other people in some way, and to really figure out how reparation could be made with others. So, wow, there's a lot there. There's a lot there to unpack. I may need to draw some clarifiers on that later. All right, so community. How do I improve unity in my community? Oh, look at that. God, I love that card. So, Judgment. Without even seeing the definition here, to me, just knowing my own faults here, judgment for me is about discernment. It's about being awake. This speaks to, her eyes are wide open, take in what you're seeing, take in what's around you, keep your eyes open, stay awake, guard the words that come out of your mouth. The butterfly is positioned almost perfectly between her throat and her heart. So I almost feel like, if you're speaking, make sure you speak from the heart with that green color and discern carefully what words you speak. Yeah. But stay awake. Be awake each moment. That is an immediate one. Oops, sorry. Immediate one for me there. Let's see what she has in the book. Yeah, reborn, awakened, clarity, forgiveness. Yeah. Time for self-realization to materialize into deeper meaning and purpose. Yeah. Atoning for misdeeds, take responsibility for the actions that have come before, and use those experiences to impart a gift unto this world. It's a time of reckoning, a call to higher existence beyond our lower instinctual desires. This is an intense spiritual transformation and a time of clarity. We feel the urgency to get our affairs in order so that we can further align our decisions and energy expenditures with our soul's purpose. That is so true. This is the whole week for me. I have a week off of work, and that's the whole week for me, is putting all of those things in order so that there is space and time to put forth towards that. Yeah. Just getting everything realigned. Beautiful. Oh my gosh, these always blow me away. I think it's more than usual. Number 6 is nation. So how can I improve unity in my nation? That's a really good question right there. Oh wow, and that card was ready for us here. Oh wow, 9 of gourds. 9 of gourds, wow. Without reading anything she writes just yet, it feels like finding the way to fill myself with compassion in order, because the energy, look how this body is not grounded in space, and yet it's almost impossible to determine, looking like, whether the gourds are pouring into her or she's pouring out into the gourds. That in a compassion practice, because I'm not a political figure, so what can I do with my one wild and precious life that improves the world, that improves the nation, that improves unity? Well, I can practice compassion. I can engage in multiple energetic practices which enliven that, tap into that energy wherever it is within others as well, and amplifies it and enlivens it. Let's see what else Courtney has to say about it, because she will inevitably have something beautiful to contribute to that idea. Let's see. So she writes, yeah, wow, okay, interesting. Oh, that's the 8 of Gourds, wrong one. I'm looking for the 9. Here we go. I was like, wow, that doesn't sound quite right. It wouldn't. The 8 of Gourds is going to be very different. Awakened happiness, sharing, unity, spiritual attainment, sanctuary. Yeah. Wow. Okay, so then the dormant, sorry, I keep reading ahead. The dormant says disruption, stress, rebellion, loss, and grief. There's an old Ethiopian proverb that says, if you pick up one end of the stick, you also pick up the other. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. It's an acknowledgement of our own power of manifestation, for better or worse. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, there's not, a lot of this speaks to more like worldly matters. I think I've hit upon the more spiritual one, in terms of improving. I think I could probably look more deeply at the other aspects of it as well, in terms of more worldly activities. Our basic day-to-day actions have repercussions too, right? Yeah. She says, this card is letting you know that you can or will get what you desire. At best, it's the promise of material benefits and luxury. Yeah, a lot. Yeah, no, there's not as much. It's basically like being wary of hedonism and overconsumption, we could say. Yeah. That the initial interpretation feels a little bit more on point for me. Finally, 7 is race. How can I improve unity in my own race? I'm going to say specifically too, I'm interested in improving unity around the concept of, because I'm really deeply concerned about white nationalism in the country that I live in right now, which is the United States, and how out of control that narrative has become. I think finding a way to bring unity to the race is for me going to have to be about how can I bring greater. I'm struggling to figure out how to phrase it. It's so important to be specific about these things, because what my intent is how do I bring greater awareness to the humanity of anyone being dehumanized through political rhetoric and ideologies that are harmful. So how do we simplify that statement? I want to bring unity to my race through being able to confront difficult things when I hear them, to confront someone's racist ideology, or most of which are they're unaware. I think there's I witness a lot of unaware statements, and I don't always feel that my attempts at countering them have been very effective. Let's put it that way. And I want to be more effective at that. All right, let's see. How can I be better about talking to white people about race in a way that unifies? Wow, the 9 of Blades. Oh my God. It's just so pretty. It's so harsh and it's so beautiful. All right. Wow. I'm gonna have to take some big risks. I'm gonna have to take some big risks here. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. What does it mean? Okay, so oh, interesting. Okay. So on the awakened side, we have new day, unfounded worries, hope, consolation, and healing. In the dormant side, we have depression, guilt, grief, nightmares, and misfortune. So the Nine of Blades represents the things that haunt us in the night. Yeah, that, I mean, white supremacy haunts me in the night. Our worst fears plague us, bringing mental and physical stress. Most of the time, our worries are the imprisoned pains and guilt we hold on to. Many other times, they are a product of external circumstances we believe we can't escape from. Ultimately, the stress and anxiety will take their toll, diminishing our life and vitality. Wow. Oh. She talks here, interesting. She talks here about, in South African mythology, about the Tokolosh, or Tikoloshe, or Healy, which is a mysterious dwarf-like spirit that wreaks havoc wherever it goes. I've actually heard of this before because I'm really fascinated by these kinds of things. Yeah, they can be summoned by others to do harm. Wow. Yeah, they can also be recognized as psychic vampires that manipulate their victims. She writes, the Nine of Blades reminds us that fear begins in the mind. What we experience is very real and valid. Sometimes anxiety and fear consumes us to the point that we can't even breathe. However, there's always a light that serves as a way out of the illusion. Just as with a nightmare, we will wake up to the sunshine and see that we are still okay. That light may be a new revelation or even the help of a loved one or a professional. We are then pulled out of the deep, dark waters of our subconscious to a place where we can breathe again. You know, this is actually more about the impact confronting others may have, I feel. So, you know, if people are afraid, you know, of, which I think is where a lot of these kinds of ideas come from, they're afraid well, there you go. People are afraid. They're afraid. I think this is about dismantling belief systems, you know, helping to dismantle belief systems that are outmoded and outdated, and to use maybe a more trickster-like way of helping to make that possible. So rather than being kind of too, you know, because the Tokolosh is not going to go, you know, right in and dig. This is a very, there's space for manipulation here, and there's room for framing things and being specific. So finding a way to confront people or confront ideas, you know, beliefs that are outmoded, outdated, or just based on fear is, you know, is going to be helpful. It's going to be helpful. That's what I notice a lot, is that kind of just there's a fear that's underpinning a problematic belief system, and helping people, a lot of times just helping people understand, like, hey, I mean, you know, there's so much around it. There's so much around it. Yeah. There's a lot to think about here. Yeah. I mean, I had a conversation not long ago with a patient in our office about critical race theory, because they didn't really understand what it meant. You know, teaching slavery and teaching about the truth of the country as it was founded is not teaching critical race theory. They're completely different things. But this person was so afraid of critical race theory and the idea that every white person is bad and that that's what we're teaching our children. So teaching slavery is teaching children that white people are bad. Oh my God. You know, was just, it just took a minute to kind of, you know, like, I think I just laughed, actually, at that. I'm pretty sure I remember laughing and just said, no, that's not what critical race theory is. And I had to kind of lay it out. And say, like, you know, we were all taught about slavery. Come on, that's just history. You know, all we're looking to do here, you know, they're not going to teach critical race theory in a school, you know, to school children. They're not in a position to understand that yet. That's the only thing we can do is start to break down the fears around these kinds of ideas and help people understand better, you know, what's really going on and why that's important. I hope that's all I know to do. That's all I know to do. So I'll continue in that direction. And there's obviously a lot more thought that needs to go into this, you know, as usual. But there we are. So I'll just back up the camera a little bit. We've got the whole spread here. And plenty of time to sit with it tonight and journal. So I'll see everyone again tomorrow. I'm assuming that anybody watching, you know, is going to watch. I hope they will. And I hope some of you will also participate again this year. You know, let's all keep going and you know, raising awareness and bringing love and kindness and consideration to everyone in the name of unity. All right, everyone, take care. Bye.